the Department of Higher Education and Training says it has a plan for the so-called missing middle students whose families earn an annual income of between 300 and 600,000 rand a year. They earn too much to qualify for NSFAS funding but struggle to pay for higher education. And all of this forms part of the comprehensive student funding model, which will be allocating funding in two phases. For the 24-25 financial year, 3.8 billion rand will be allocated, and going forward between 3 and 4 billion added annually to the scheme's budget over the following 10 years. Spokesperson for the department, Veli Mbele, joins us now. Veli, good evening to you and welcome. Thanks for your time. It's a big scheme with some key qualifying criteria. Now, please share those with our viewers.
Yes, thanks, Iman. And it's unprecedented, right, in our country's higher education system. And like you correctly said, this comes after there was growing concern about the category of students that's referred to as the missing middle. And you have explained those are students who come from households that earn between 350,000 per annum and 600,000. And this is meant to cater for that cohort of students, right? And it is going to be administered in the form of a loan scheme. And in the wisdom of the ministerial committee that the minister established, they felt that the vehicle that is best suited for its implementation is the National Students Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS, that all other things notwithstanding, for the phase, especially the first phase of implementation, and going forward, NSFAS is best suited for immediate implementation of the scheme.
And also among those, among the criteria, notwithstanding the household income, there's got to be specific qualification levels. There's going to be a focus on the STEM subjects, but also particular requirements on the loan agreement itself. And I'd love for you to focus on that loan agreement portion so that parents and caregivers understand what are the terms and conditions there.
So this is how it works, right? So once a student has been accepted for the loan, so the student would obviously be required to go into a loan agreement with the institution, which would be NSFAS in this case, and then this would be done on an annual basis, which means checking on the student's previous year's results. They will then use those to apply. And if a student obtains the average of 60%, right, pass, they would then, be favorably considered for it. And then, but also if a student receives over 60%, which is 70%, the student would then be qualifying for a discount of 50% upon request, right? So this is how it's going to be working in essence. And like you correctly said, 70% of the focus is going to be on STEM subjects, science, maths, engineering, etc., and 30% on humanities. But there's also going to be a discussion around how students who are in the entrepreneurial fields and the scarce skills sector are funded. Equally important to state is that this is going to be for both students in the TVET colleges and universities, and for both undergraduate students and postgraduate students.
All right, now that we've got that important information out of the way, let's talk about operational issues around NSFAS. Hasn't covered itself in glory, has it entirely over the term of its existence. So, Veli, there have been concerns about the ability of the scheme to roll this out. Tens of thousands of students, we understand, are still awaiting outstanding payments from 2023. NSFAS payment delays last year to 100,000 students were blamed on a lack of things like an integrated data system with the university. So the question is, what actual systems and safeguards have now been put in place to prevent this from happening? What guarantees can you give students?
Yes, I mean, that's a legitimate concern, right? Given all that was happening around NSFAS, purely legitimate concern. So part of the discussion, it's important to also understand how we arrived here. So part of the discussion that was that formed part of the ministerial committees, that they looked at a variety of models. They also did a lot of international benchmarking so as to come to the conclusion as to which institution would be best suited to deliver it. And the assessment of the department is that notwithstanding the governance and other challenges at NSFAS, NSFAS still remains the best suited institution to deliver this. And in addition to that, because this is now going to be extra capacity this thing, or rather an extra responsibility added on NSFAS. In addition to the 3.8 billion, there's an amount also that the department is going to set aside to improve the ICT systems and the loan scheme at NSFAS. But in addition to that, we have also been talking to a couple of our universities that are already having working systems and existing capacity. Two of those universities are the universities of Stellenbosch and UCT, right? And there was a discussion with the vice chancellors who have endorsed this funding model. They gave their unequivocal support. The students did the same. So before the minister even went into the announcement, he had a round of consultations and explained the nitty-gritty to the universities, NSFAS, of course, but also to the student leadership. So the issue of capacity was central in making this determination. And at this stage, as the department, we are confident that NSFAS would be able to assist the department in delivering on this model.
Well, we'll know very soon, Veli, whether it is working and it can work. You now have an acting chairperson. You've got Professor Lawrence van Staden. Ernest Cause has taken that leave of absence amid those corruption allegations. Van Staden's going to oversee the appointment of a new CEO as well, after Andile Nongongi was implicated and fired after the tender awards saga to companies responsible for things like direct payment to students. So what is your message to the public that the ship is being righted and the problems that we've been talking about ad nauseum are now going to be a thing of the past?
Certainly, right. So the institution has had its fair share of challenges. I don't want to dispute that, and we acknowledge that. And some concrete steps have been taken, some of which you are mentioning. And part of the mandate that the acting chair of the board has is to make sure that he implements the recommendations of the Werksman's report, which speak to making sure that there's clean governance in the institution. But part of his mandate is also that he must make sure that NSFAS helps us to make sure that we have a smooth start to the academic year. So there has been a discussion between with Professor van Staden and the minister, which this discussion involved some of the things that I'm sharing with you as a matter of priority. So that is the focus, and that is the message we wish to communicate, that we are doing our best to stabilize NSFAS and making sure it is focused, primarily because we want as smooth as possible start to the 2024 academic year.